I'm Eldritch Kraken. Welcome to my very first Let's Play of a game known as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for the Game Boy Color. This game is actually one of the better licensed games I've ever played. It actually was one of 7 made as an adaptation for the Harry Potter movie, and out of all of them, it's widely considered the best. But let's not let critical scores determine the value of a game. Let's play it for ourselves. Now, as you can see, this game starts out in medias res. Harry Potter has already gotten his acceptance letter to Hogwarts, and he's currently at Diagon Alley about to buy all of his school supplies and also get his very first wand. But we'll do that a little later. First, I'm going to explore a little bit of Diagon Alley. So as you can see, there are a couple little shops about. We'll explore them later. There are also some hidden items to be found. I don't have any money right now, so we'll visit the shops a little later when we do get some. Now, one of the things I really love about this game is that just the sheer amount of depth and thought that was put into it. It's actually pretty rare for a licensed game. It also uses the palette of the Game Boy Color very well. In fact, these colors would be a lot more vivid if I had set the VBA to real colors rather than Game Boy colors, but I felt this is more true to how it really looks on a Game Boy. I also forgot to mention that in one of the barrels I got a sickle. Sickles are the currency of the game. For some reason you don't really see any of the other wizard currencies like the galleons that are used, but nonetheless. Now let's go back to Ollivander's so Harry can get his wand. And Hagrid tells us that later we will meet him at Gringotts Bank to get the money we need to buy our school supplies. Now Ollivander has us try out a few wands, and this is kind of odd because he specifically says that the third wand is a special wand, as you can see, but he doesn't say why it's special. Now, of course, any Harry Potter fan could tell you that it's special because it's the exact same kind of wand that Voldemort uses. But it's very odd in that this game doesn't really mention Voldemort at all until you're nearly halfway through the game. But nonetheless, we'll save that for later. So, now that we have our wand, it's equipped with 2 spells we can use in combat, which we'll be seeing in just a second. But first, we have this kid. Unless I am forgetting, this kid is never given a name, which is strange because he's kind of important to the game, as he's about to introduce a mechanic, famous witches and wizards cards. They are cards you can collect throughout the game, and you can combine them to create spells that can be either helpful or harmful to you. He gives us a deck. The deck determines what kind of cards you'll be able to see throughout the game. Some of them are common to every deck, others are specialized. For instance, if you pick up the Gulliver Pokeby deck, you'll never get Justice Pillywickle, Gregory the Smarmy, or Mervyn the Magnificent. Anyway, I picked the Justice Pillywickle deck. There's not that much difference in the beginning of the game because it's likely that you won't have all the cards to use your combos anyway. But now that we have all these nice little cards given to us by this mysterious wizard boy, I'm going to show just how the cards work. So, they're organized by basically what the wizard's known for. Gives a little cute description of what they became famous for. None of these right now are anyone you'd probably recognize from the books, but later you will find some that you will recognize. For instance, Dumbledore has a card, of course. But enough of cards. Now is time to show you what the combat in this game is like. Now, you would think that a turn-based RPG would be a really strange choice for Harry Potter, but it actually works very well. And random encounters generally consist of 1 to 3 monsters, and you use your spells or cards to defend against them. There are 2 different spells you can choose from at the beginning of the game. We have Flipendo Uno, which doesn't cost you any MP or magic points, but it's slightly weaker. And then you have the Vermilius Uno, which is slightly higher cost, but does more damage to these rats in-game. Now that's not to say that Vermilius will always do more damage than Flipendo. Actually, some creatures are specifically weak to certain spells. It just so happens that these rats at the beginning are weak to Vermilius. The way you level up in this game is by grinding, pretty much. And to level up your spells, you need to use each spell a certain time. I'm fast forwarding through all this grinding because, let's face it, it's tedious. If you use a certain spell X number of times, you'll get an upgraded version of the spell, usually. And you'll be seeing why I did this a little later into the video. Now this is a battle where I finally am able to get our new spell that we'll be needing in just a little bit. And this is a little prompt that pops up. And I'm going to show off something to you that I forgot before, the Folio Triplicus, which shows you all your card combinations. Again, we won't be using them very much. Before we can... Oh. Then I also, of course, forgot to show off the status screen. As you can see, I've leveled up a bit. Basically, you're not really in charge of how your stats go, except by what you equip. They go up about the same for each level. This, by the way, is the healer shop. It basically gives you a heal for free. This game is very lenient on deaths. If you faint, you will just revive at wherever the healing station may be. Here in Diagon Alley, it will be that healer's shop. At Hogwarts, it will be Madame Pomfrey's office. Now we are in Gringotts Bank. This wizard, or this dwarf, tells us that we have Hagrid waiting us for the hall. I ignore all these others because they basically all say the same thing, and there's a card in this empty seat over here, which I guess is where Griphook normally sits. And of course, it wouldn't be much of an adventure if we just followed Hagrid everywhere, so we are off on our own in the vault of Gringotts. These bats are a little bit tougher than rats, but not by much. They'll go down with either 2 Vermilius Unos or a Vermilius Uno and a Flipendo Uno, which is how I usually dispatch them because it's pretty much the most MP conservative way to go. Yes, in this game, in the beginning, there are not many healing items to be found unless you are like me and grind the hell out of rats, but that only really gives you HP healing items, or rather SP healing items. Yes, you do kind of want to be conservative about your MP costs, because MP potions are expensive. You also might notice that sometimes there are red numbers that pop up over enemies. That means I've dealt them a critical hit, so it does about 2 times more damage than it normally would to them. There's a card hidden in this hole. There are actually 4 different little spots with hidden items all throughout this vault. Also, these doors all say different things. They all say a different little cute phrase about how they're all locked up safe and I don't know. You also notice there's a blue number over me and this rat and the bat. Kind of an interesting turn of events. It means that you've critically missed pretty much. If you're an avid player of Dungeons and Dragons, you'll know what I mean. And for the life of me, I just can't hit this bat for whatever reason. Pepper-up potions, by the way, are our MP healing potions. I'll try to use them as sparingly as possible. Another card in here. And a wonderfully snarky door. The most annoying thing about random encounters, though, is that they really love to spawn right in your path. And unless you have a lot of agility or just insanely lucky, it's really hard to run away. And here I check my status screen because I know I'm close to the end of the level and I was just checking to see if I can level up. Because leveling up brings you back to full SP and MP. Which is very helpful to know right before a boss fight, so you don't have to waste your healing items. And now that we are done with this last random encounter before we level up, we can fight the boss. And I checked this hole, but there's no item in there. This big floating cloud, this signals that we have a boss, and once these other little random encounters despawn, I'm going to fight them. Now, you might be wondering who this boss is. Well, any Harry Potter fan knows the Harry's fight with the big rat in Gringotts Vault, right? Right? Yeah. Anyway, this guy's not too tough. In fact, this is the exact reason why I grinded for Vermilius Duo, because it does a lot of damage to him, and unless you get unlucky and miss, he'll be out in 2 turns. And not so lucky this time, of course. But yeah, anyway, if you're prepared, most boss fights are not that tough. And after you're done with the big rat, all you have to do is kill the little rats and this battle will be over. So, huzzah, we have defeated the boss of the bank vault. Sometimes he'll give you a nice equipment item, but we're not so lucky this time. And now we are finally at Harry's vault. And we get our school supply list, and completing this, we will be able to finish up Diagon Alley in this video as well. Now, of course, leaving a child unattended in a vault full of fat sacks of cash I wonder if he's gonna take the money? Can you? Well, as you can see, Harry's not very interested in money. In fact, the only thing you can take out of the vault is a new card combination. Whoopee. And now we have to backtrack all the way through the vaults. Now if you take this passage to the left, it's a bit easier, because it's a lot more straightforward than having to wind your way through the rest of the vault. There's a card in this hole, and then there's one more that's very easy to find. And here's our last card, and we are nearly out of the vault. Now you may be wondering, all the others have clever phrases and stuff, but that one just says locked. Well, you'll be seeing later that we'll actually be coming back to this vault. And now I'm showing off all the new cards that we've come to collect while we were in here, including Justice Pillywickle, who was the star of the deck that we chose when the random kid came out of nowhere to give us cards. And that guy's wearing a jellyfish as a hat. That can't be comfortable. And then we only get one new card combo that's strength. It's actually quite useful, but too bad we can't use it yet. Now, as you can see, we have a school supply list. It's got some typical wizard things in it. So, let's go on our merry way to go and buy these things. And there's Hagrid waiting for us once we collect everything on our list. This guy's in my way. Too bad, kid. We already found what was in that barrel. So, there's nothing you can actually get to the Owl Emporium, though there is a card in here. And just talk to this guy to show you that you, in fact, cannot take any owls out of the Owl Emporium. Next is the potion shop. The potion shop has one item on our list that we need. It also sells some potions that'll help you in battle. You can see Wiggenwelds, which is another healing item, antidotes, pepper-ups, and the potion kit bag, which is the one thing we actually needed from here. And as you can see, once you've gotten an item that's on your list, it'll get checked off. I don't know about any other ROMs, but the ROM I have is not perfect, and sometimes it just won't register that you have something. So you may have to save state and reset if that happens. And there's this creepy dude trying to sell us cards. But whatever. Time for the Cauldron Shop, which also has a hidden card in it. And a sneezing lady, I suppose. All we need is a cauldron, is what the list says, but I'll buy the cheapest one. It actually is kind of important if you are an avid potions maker to have all the different cauldrons, because you can't just use one cauldron for all your potions. Once we get the potion ingredients list, they all use different ones, pretty much. So that's it for the first row of shops in Diagon Alley. There's nothing of worth in the broom shop, unfortunately. So, let us go around to the candy shop, which has nothing of value in it, because after grinding on those rats, I have way too many freaking pasties. There are chocolate frogs, which will give you free cards, but there's a free card in this shop anyway, so... I will, by the way, be trying to get all the hidden items in the game. It may or may not be impossible due to the sheer amount of how many there are, but I will try my best, and don't be afraid in the comments to tell me if I've missed one. Now we are going to be introduced to the a-hole that is Draco Malfoy, Actually, this game is pretty nice if you do not like Malfoy that much, as he kind of gets his what for all throughout the game. This shop, by the way, the clothing shop, has pretty much the majority of the items on our list, actually. Not all the things on here are required. The belt and the boots are actually not, but they're nice to have, so I'm going to purchase those too. And here I am just checking the school supply list. We have one last place to hit, but first, the game's gonna prompt us to acquire, or equip the items we just acquired. And that's what we're gonna do. So, equipping items is pretty easy. Also of note is that the non-required boots can lower your speed, but I think it's well worth it to equip them, just because, you know, it gives you a little bit more padding. Also, you notice that we have two choices for what to put on Harry's body, the robe or the cloak. Cloak provides better defenses, but less agility, but that's fine. I think it's pretty worth it to sacrifice agility, that is, going after faster monsters for defense. And with our books, we have gotten everything on the list. So that means we are pretty much done with Diagon Alley, at least for a while. So, this concludes my very first episode of my very first LP. Join me next time, and we will be going to platform 9 3/4 so we can take the train to Hogwarts. I'm Eldritch Kraken, and I'll see you next time.